I was maybe 10 when it started. Late at night, after everyone else was asleep, I'd sneak downstairs to watch TV. There was this one channel, Channel Zero, that wasn't supposed to be there. It never showed up in the daytime, only after midnight. Static mostly, but sometimes other things. It was mesmerizing, horrifying. Like watching a car crash, you can't look away. I told myself it was just bad reception, but deep down, I knew it was something more, something wrong. The next night, I couldn't resist. I had to see it again. The static was there, swirling and buzzing like a swarm of angry insects. Then the figure appeared again, clearer this time. It was humanoid, but wrong. Its limbs were too long, its head too small. And its eyes, they seemed to burn through the static, staring directly at me. Even through the screen, I felt a chilling sense of dread. It was like it knew I was watching. I tried to change the channel, but the remote wouldn't work. I finally managed to yank the power cord out of the wall. The sudden silence was deafening. My heart pounded in my chest. I ran back to bed, pulling the covers over my head, but I couldn't shake the image of that thing staring at me. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those burning eyes in the static. I knew with a certainty that chilled me to the bone that this was just the beginning. For a few nights, I stayed away from the TV, but the curiosity, the pull, it was too strong. I had to know what was on Channel Zero, what that thing was. So I went back downstairs. This time, the static was different. It was swirling faster, forming shapes almost. Faces. Distorted, grotesque faces that seemed to morph and shift before my eyes. Then a voice, whispering. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone. It was filled with malice, with a chilling promise of something terrible. The faces on the screen seemed to be mouthing along with the whispers, their distorted features twisting into horrifying smiles. My blood ran cold. I knew I had to get away, but I was frozen, paralyzed by fear. The whispering grew louder, clearer. I began to understand the words. They were speaking my name, repeating it over and over in a chorus of distorted voices. The faces on the screen grew larger, closer, as if they were trying to break through the glass and reach out to me. I scrambled back, knocking over a lamp in my panic. The sudden noise seemed to break the spell. The whispers stopped. The faces vanished. Only the static remained. I didn't watch Channel Zero again after that. I couldn't. I was too afraid. But sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet, I still hear the whispers, my name, echoing in the darkness. Years passed. I moved out, went to college, tried to forget about Channel Zero. But it was always there, lurking in the back of my mind. A chilling reminder of the terror I felt as a child. I thought I was free of it until one night. I was flipping through channels late at night, and there it was. Channel Zero. The static, the swirling faces, the whispering, it all came flooding back. The same chilling dread washed over me. It was like no time had passed at all. But this time, there was something different. The faces were clearer, more defined, and they weren't just faces anymore. They were people, trapped in the static, screaming, reaching out. I recognized one of them. It was Mrs. Henderson, my old neighbor from down the street. She had disappeared a few years ago. Everyone thought she had just moved away. But there she was, trapped in the static of Channel Zero. Her eyes wide with terror, mouthing my name. I slammed my laptop shut, my hands shaking. I couldn't breathe. It wasn't just a show. Channel Zero wasn't just some creepy broadcast. It was something real, something that stole people. I haven't opened my laptop since. I'm too afraid of what I might see. Too afraid of seeing more familiar faces trapped in the static. But last night, I heard the static again. Not coming from the TV or the laptop, coming from my closet. A low, buzzing sound, like a swarm of angry insects. And then the whispers, my name, coming from inside the closet, getting closer. The emergency broadcast system tone shrieked, a sound I hadn't heard since childhood drills. It ripped me from a dead sleep, heart hammering. 3:17 a.m. The screen flickered, the blue light painting the room in an unsettling glow. A grim-faced man in a suit stared out, his expression tight with a fear that mirrored my own. "This is not a test," he said, his voice strained. "Do not go outside. Do not look at the sky. Repeat, do not look at the sky." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. The silence that followed was worse than the blaring alarm. It was a thick, heavy silence, broken only by the frantic thumping of my own heart. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it all. Aliens, nuclear war, some kind of cosmic horror. The thought sent a shiver down my spine. I fumbled for my flashlight, finally finding it under a pile of books. The beam sliced through the darkness, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. I had to know. The curiosity was burning a hole in my stomach. My fingers trembled as I pulled the cord. The blinds snapped up, revealing the night sky. And then I saw it. Or rather, I didn't see it. The sky, it was empty. Completely, utterly empty. No stars, no moon, no clouds. Just an infinite expanse of nothing, a void. It was like looking into the abyss, and the abyss was staring back. A wave of nausea washed over me. This wasn't just the absence of light, it was the absence of everything. I slammed the blinds shut, my heart pounding in my chest. I had to get out of here, anywhere but here. I grabbed my keys and wallet, throwing on a jacket. As I reached the front door, I heard a scratching sound, slow, deliberate scratching, coming from the roof. I froze, my blood turning to ice. I slowly looked up at the ceiling, my mind conjuring up images of. I didn't even want to think about it. The scratching continued, growing louder, more insistent. It was like something was trying to get in. I fumbled with the lock, my hands shaking so badly I could barely turn the key. Finally, the door swung open, revealing the empty street bathed in the unsettling non-light from the void sky. The scratching intensified, now accompanied by a low, guttural growl. It was definitely coming from the roof. I ran. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I had to get away from that house. From that thing. As I ran, I risked a glance back at my house. I kept running, my lungs burning, my legs aching. The growl followed me, echoing in the unnatural silence. I looked up at the sky again, still empty. It was like the whole universe had been erased, except for that thing on my roof, that thing in the emptiness. I glanced back again, but the figure was gone. I slowed down, gasping for breath, trying to convince myself I'd imagined it, that it was just the stress, the fear, but deep down I knew I hadn't imagined it. I reached the main road, hoping to see another car, another person, any sign of life, but the road was deserted. The only sound was the wind whistling through the empty trees, their branches reaching towards the nothingness like skeletal fingers. I kept walking, the silence pressing in on me, the emptiness suffocating me. I felt a prickling sensation on the back of my neck, like I was being watched. I spun around, but there was nothing there. Just the empty road, the empty houses, the empty sky. I started to run again, driven by a primal fear I couldn't explain. I had to find someone, anyone. I had to know I wasn't alone. I ran until I reached the edge of town, until the houses gave way to open fields. And that's when I saw it again. The figure, standing in the middle of a field, silhouetted against the void. It was closer now, and I could see it more clearly. It was tall, thin, and its limbs were impossibly long, like they didn't belong to any earthly creature. It turned its head towards me, and I saw its face. Or what should have been its face. It was smooth, featureless, like a blank mask. And yet I could feel its gaze, cold and empty, boring into me. I wanted to scream, to run, but I was frozen in place, paralyzed by terror. It began to walk towards me, its movements slow and deliberate, its long limbs unfolding like a spider's legs. The ground didn't seem to register its steps, it just glided. I turned and ran, my legs pumping, my heart pounding. I ran as fast as I could, but I knew I couldn't outrun it. It was too fast, too, otherworldly. I risked a glance over my shoulder. It was gaining on me, its long limbs reaching out, its blank face fixed on mine. I could feel its presence, cold and empty, closing in on me. I stumbled, falling to my knees. I looked up at the empty sky, a silent scream trapped in my throat. It reached down, its long, thin fingers wrapping around my arm. Its touch was cold, like ice, draining the heat from my body. I closed my eyes, waiting for the end, but it didn't come. I opened my eyes, and the figure was gone. I was alone again in the empty field under the empty sky. I slowly got to my feet, my body trembling. I didn't understand. Why had it let me go? I started walking back towards town, my mind reeling. I didn't know what to do, where to go. I felt a strange sense of emptiness, like something had been taken from me. As I walked, I noticed something different about the houses. They were darker, emptier, like they were just shells. I reached my street and my heart sank. My house. It was different. The windows were dark, the door ajar. It looked abandoned, like no one had lived there for years. I cautiously approached the door, my hand hovering over the knob. I pushed it open and stepped inside. The house was empty. Dust covered everything, thick and undisturbed. My furniture, my books, my belongings, they were all gone. It was like I'd never lived there at all. I walked through the empty rooms, a growing sense of dread washing over me. Where had everything gone? Where had *I gone? Then I saw it. A reflection in the darkened window, not my reflection. It was the figure, tall, thin, with impassably long limbs. Its face was still smooth, featureless, like a blank mask. But its eyes, they were different. They were no longer empty. They were filled with me, my memories, my thoughts, my fears. It smiled, a slow, chilling smile that stretched its blank face into a grotesque parody of human expression. And then I understood. It hadn't taken me. It had taken my place. I found it in my grandfather's attic, tucked away in a dusty box labeled 734. A VHS tape, the kind you barely see anymore. Curiosity gnawed at me. Why was this one singled out? Why not just home videos like the others? I mean, Grandpa was a quiet man, kept to himself. Never spoke much about his past. I shrugged, figuring it was just old home movies. I popped it into the VCR, the familiar whirring sound a nostalgic echo in the dim room. It was a face, but not a human face. It was elongated, almost skeletal, with huge dark eyes that seemed to stare directly into me. The image was blurry, warped, like it was struggling to manifest on the screen. There was a low, guttural humming, a sound that vibrated deep in my chest, making my teeth ache. A wave of unease washed over me. This wasn't Grandpa's usual fishing trips or birthday parties. Whatever this was, it felt wrong, deeply wrong. The image shifted, the face dissolving into a swirling vortex of static. The humming intensified, morphing into a low, rhythmic chanting. I couldn't understand the words, but they felt ancient, primal. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. I glanced around the attic, suddenly feeling like I wasn't alone, like something was watching me from the shadows. The air grew heavy, the dust motes dancing in the dim light seeming to take on sinister shapes. The static cleared, revealing a grainy image of a forest. It was night, the trees gnarled and twisted, their branches reaching like skeletal fingers. A figure stood in the clearing, its back to the camera. Tall and thin, it swayed slightly as if in a trance. The chanting continued, growing louder, more insistent. It felt like it was inside my head now, echoing in my skull. I wanted to turn it off. I needed to turn it off. But my fingers were frozen, my gaze fixed on the screen. The figure turned slowly, revealing its face. It was the same elongated face from before, but now it was clearer, more defined. The eyes were huge, black pits that seemed to absorb all light. A chilling smile stretched across its thin lips, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth. My breath hitched in my throat. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through me. The chanting reached a crescendo, and the figure on screen began to move. It glided towards the camera, its movements unnatural, jerky. The image zoomed in, the face filling the screen. The eyes locked onto mine, and a voice, raspy and chilling, whispered from the TV speakers, "We see you." I stumbled back, knocking over a stack of old books. The sound echoed in the silent attic, amplifying the terror that gripped me. My heart pounded in my chest, a frantic drum against my ribs. I fumbled for the remote, my hands shaking so badly I could barely grip it. Finally, I managed to press the eject button. The whirring of the VCR stopped, the screen going black. Silence descended on the attic, broken only by my ragged breathing. I sat there, frozen, staring at the blank screen, the words "we see you" echoing in my mind. I grabbed the tape, intending to smash it, to destroy it, but something stopped me. A strange compulsion, a morbid fascination, drew me back to the VCR. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the slot. Was I crazy? What was wrong with me? Against my better judgment, I pushed the tape back into the VCR. The machine whirred to life, the screen flickering with static. The same distorted face appeared, its eyes burning into mine. The chanting started again, low and rhythmic, weaving its way into my consciousness. The image shifted, showing the forest again. But this time, there were more figures. Dozens of them, tall and thin, their elongated faces turned towards the camera. They stood motionless, silent, their black eyes boring into me. The chanting intensified, and the figures began to move. They swayed, their movements jerky and unnatural, like puppets on strings. They began to walk towards the camera, their pace slow and deliberate. The image zoomed in, focusing on the closest figure. Its face was inches from the screen, the black eyes staring directly into mine. The chilling smile widened, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth. The voice whispered again, closer this time, "We are coming." I ripped the tape from the VCR, throwing it across the room. It clattered against the wall and landed with a thud. The silence that followed was deafening. I sat there, heart pounding, sweat dripping down my face. I looked around the attic, my eyes darting from shadow to shadow. I felt a presence, a cold, watchful presence, even though I was alone. The words "we are coming" echoed in my mind, a chilling promise of something terrible to come. Then, from the corner of the attic, a tall, thin figure emerged from the shadows. Its elongated face, with its huge, black eyes and chilling smile, was unmistakable. It glided towards me, its movements jerky and unnatural, just like on the tape. And as it reached out its skeletal hand, I knew they had found me. I swear it started subtly, just a flicker on the TV screen late at night. You know that static snow you used to get between channels? Only this was different. It pulsed, almost rhythmically like a heartbeat. I figured it was just a loose cable, something easily explained. But then, the flickering started syncing with the radio in the kitchen. Same pulsing rhythm, even when I changed the station. That's when the hairs on the back of my neck started to stand up. The next night it got worse. The flickering spread to the lights in the house, a slow, synchronized pulse. My wife, Sarah, she didn't see it at first, thought I was imagining things, stress from work, she said. But then the phone started ringing. No one on the other end, just that same pulsing static. I unplugged it, but the sound continued, faint and distorted, coming from the receiver. Sarah's face went white. She heard it too. We tried everything. Turning off the power, unplugging every appliance. Nothing worked. The pulsing was everywhere in the air itself. It felt like the house was breathing this slow, sickening rhythm. Then the images started. Faint, distorted figures in the static on the TV screen. Twisted, inhuman shapes that seemed to writhe and shift with the pulsing light. I remember grabbing Sarah's hand, squeezing it tight. We huddled together on the couch, too scared to move, too scared to speak. The pulsing grew stronger, faster. The figures on the TV screen became clearer, more defined. They reached out towards us, their long, skeletal fingers stretching, grasping. We ran, out of the house, into the night. The pulsing followed us. We could feel it in the air, in the ground beneath our feet. We looked back at the house, and every window pulsed with that sickening light, the distorted figures visible in the glow. We drove, for hours, just trying to put distance between us and that house, that pulsing. But it didn't matter. Everywhere we went, the pulsing followed. The car radio, the streetlights, even the stars in the sky seemed to throb with that same dreadful rhythm. We stopped at a motel, desperate for some rest. But the pulsing was there too, in the flickering neon sign outside, in the hum of the refrigerator in our room. We couldn't escape it. I turned on the TV, hoping for some distraction, some normalcy. But the screen just showed static, pulsing with that same infernal rhythm. And then the figures appeared again, clearer than ever. Closer. They spoke, their voices, distorted and grating, echoed from the TV speaker. They spoke my name. Sarah's name. They knew us. They were coming for us. We smashed the TV. The silence that followed was deafening, but it only lasted a moment. The pulsing returned, stronger, faster. The figures were gone from the screen, but we could feel them all around us, closing in. We covered our ears, trying to block out the pulsing, but it was no use. It was inside us now, in our bones, in our blood. We could feel it resonating, vibrating, consuming us. Sarah, she started to change. Her skin shimmered, distorted, taking on the same flickering quality as the light. Her eyes went blank white. She turned to me, and a distorted, grating voice, not her own, spoke my name. I backed away, horrified. The pulsing reached a crescendo. Everything went white. I couldn't see, couldn't hear, couldn't feel anything but the pulsing. Then silence. The pulsing stopped. The light faded. I opened my eyes. I was alone. Sarah was gone. The motel room was normal, quiet, like nothing had ever happened. But I can still feel it, faintly, deep inside, the pulsing, waiting, and I know it's coming back for me.